Antarctica is acquiring more ice than it is losing, which has recently surprised experts. One of Greenland's most well-known glaciers, which according to NASA is melting at the fastest rate in the world, has added ice despite this. Top climatology scientists have been debating how climate change is affecting weather patterns and how rising surface temperatures are affecting weather patterns. However, it turns out we were mistaken, and not all experts agree on how this effect is happening. Australia is one of the major nations that lies directly in the middle of these fluctuating weather changes. The North Pacific is cooling, and Antarctica is growing, and weather patterns have undergone some remarkable changes in recent decades, which many may have attributed to climate change. However, experts disagree and contend that these changes may not have been caused by climate change at all. For those of us who may not be familiar with the La Niña weather phenomenon, let me explain. La Niña is a major part of a natural climatic cycle that blows cool air over the tropical Pacific Ocean. It is one part of a larger cycle, with the other part being El Niño, which blows much warmer air. Sea surface temperatures differ between the two weather events, which alternately affect the central and eastern tropical Pacific. The El Niño Southern Oscillation, or ENSO, is the term used to refer to both meteorological phenomena. The cycle moves as a result of the bearing impacts of La Niña and El Niño, which can deliver intense tropical rains and floods to one place, while simultaneously bringing drought to another. Although ENSO's climatic effects and consequences are primarily felt in areas surrounding the tropical Pacific, they may very well extend to any part of the world, making ENSO the dominant force in causing global warming. Worldwide, yearly East and Southern Africa, Southeast Asia, Western America, Australia, and Antarctica are among the areas where the impacts of the ENSO on precipitation and temperature change are most noticeable. Australia has experienced more La Niña events in recent years, and the most recent flooding was caused by the third consecutive La Niña event, which is extremely rare because these events typically alternate annually and are usually followed by warmer El Niño events. Some experts have attributed this to rising surface temperatures, which can have a variety of effects on the frequency and intensity of these climatic events, but other experts and researchers disagree. On the other hand, El Niño events have been causing severe droughts and dry conditions in the southwest United States and Latin America. The Ninã transports colder winds from the eastern and central Pacific blowing towards parts of eastern Australia, which has been responsible for the wet and cold conditions the country has experienced in the last 2 years. According to the National Bureau of Meteorology, the third La Niña event may be weaker and shorter-lived than the first two. The effects of recent La Niña events in Australia have led scientists to discover that there are more climatic forces at play than previously thought. According to a research paper published earlier this year, the paper detailed how an increase in surface temperatures caused by glasshouse gas emissions could further intensify the frequency of ENSO effects in most parts of the country. A dipole in the Indian Ocean dipole is characterized by an oscillation of variable sea surface temperatures, with the western Indian Ocean becoming relatively warmer and the eastern pole of the ocean becoming irregularly cooler. This change between warm and cool sea surface temperatures rotates with more rainfall in cooler parts of the ocean and droughts on the warmer end of the ocean. High rainfall records, despite the 2010 phenomenon being a one-time occurrence. It appears the current trend of La Niña events may cause more rainfall in the upcoming sea season and thereby cause more flooding. However, even though projections may indicate the likelihood of another La Niña event, it is still unknown which parts of Australia will be affected. Before drawing any conclusions about how and when an event will affect global climatic weather conditions in the future, we must consider how these events have played out in the past. A report by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, noted in a published report that the increased number and intensity of El Niño events in the last 20 to 30 years might be a result of human activity. This increase has been in slight contrast with the recorded occurrence of ENSO events between 1850 and 1950, and even as far back as the 15th century. In addition, climate model simulations have shown similar fluctuations in attempts to predict the patterns of ENSO events in the future. These simulations have both included and excluded the effects of glasshouse gas emissions, all of which have produced varying results regarding future state events. This tells experts that there is indeed no clear indication that the changes we've seen in ENSO events since the 1950s are peculiar or resulting from climate change. An IPCC report indicates that there is no consensus regarding the change in sea surface temperatures over the next centuries in relation to glasshouse gas emissions. That's all for today. Please support my channel by subscribing.